Good morning, friends. How are you? Welcome back to the Say What podcast, where we talk about things that people don't want to say out loud. My name is Hannah, and I hope you guys are doing so well. Hope you're having a fabulous day. I am so excited to sit here and just chat with you, give you my best groundbreaking, best advice you've ever heard in your entire life. Like, clearly have all the wisdom, clearly have all the life experience, clearly am just the best person to give out advice. No, none of that is true, but I am excited to give you my advice today. I'm excited for today to be a fun episode. These questions that you guys gave me are pretty good. We'll say somebody, I think, tried to use this advice column to try to insult me, but it wasn't very clear if it was an insult or not, so I don't know how well they did. But I obviously did not include that comment in here. But I'm really excited to answer your questions. These are some juicy questions. Like, these are good. I might have some hot takes here and there. And I want you guys to remember that I'm coming in here with love, coming in here with, good advice. I also listened to last week's episode, and I'm determined to never say and I'm going to stop saying like. So you guys have to hold me accountable. And I don't edit out the ums or likes. Like, we leave them in. And you can say like when you need to, like when see, when it makes sense. Anyways, I'm going to be a better podcaster. I want to acknowledge all my YouTube listeners, my YouTube watchers, that the wall is gone. The wall that has been a part of the Say What podcast since the beginning. The wall is gone. It is still hung up in my guest bedroom where we record the podcast, but I am really passionate about this podcast being what I do full time. And I had a realization the other day that if I'm trying to grow my YouTube, I need a better studio. And I also need to not show off the backdrop because I got all those pictures from Pinterest. And I'm sure that I am doing some kind of copyright thing incorrectly and I'm not trying to get flagged. And I was like, maybe that's why YouTube hasn't blown up yet, because I don't have the proper proper rights to these images that are on my wall. So that is why I have a new backdrop. I need to get a sign for it. We need to fix the shadows. Listen, this is real home studio vibes. I need you guys to remember that. We are a home studio over here. That doesn't mean that we are any less professional. That just means there are some shadows. And are they stressing me out? Yes. Is it going to get better? Not during this episode, but it will get better. We got to get some more lights. We got to get a sign. I probably need to set it up more as a studio rather than just a backdrop. Lots of things to be done. It just will come in time. We don't have a studio outside of in my home, and currently the camera is sitting on our guest bed because we have to have a guest bed because we moved here so family would come see us, and I need to have a bed for the family. So we're just gonna have to deal with the shadows. And if you have a problem with it, just listen to the podcast, which you probably don't have a problem with it because you guys are so lovely and kind and so sweet. And I just love you guys so much. And yeah, so let's just dive into this advice because I have a lot of advice to give. And while I'm so excited to give out my incredible life-changing advice today that is just going to really change the Say What friends' lives, I'm also so excited to tell you that this episode is sponsored by Getaways. They offer certified travel advisor bookings for free. That's right, you get access to deals through them for free. 9 times out of 10, they can get you a better price, added perks, or both. And who doesn't love added perks? I love a perk. I love adding something on to my travel that I was not planning on doing, but they can do that for you. They can help you out. I've actually been friends with Emily and Camilo for years now, and I've been watching them travel all over the world. And it has just been so fun watching them go all these places and getting to do all these really cool activities and things. And I'm always watching them how are you doing that, number one? How are you affording that, number two? And can you do this for me, number three? And so I'm so excited that they are doing this for other people now with PS Getaways. It's really awesome. And I love all of the perks that you get from working with them. But overall, they are just seriously the best people. Like I said, I've known them for years, and they are absolutely incredible. And who doesn't love working with good people? So that is truly the best part about all of this is how great of people Emily and Camilo are. So let them help you book your girls trip to Miami, your honeymoon to Turks and Caicos, or your anniversary trip to Europe. They truly do it all. And hello, Europe, I would love to go. Anniversary in Turks and Caicos, Thomas, we're going next year, 6-year anniversary, and we're booking with PS Getaways. So you can click the link in the episode notes to email Emily directly to get started, or you can click their Instagram, that's in my episode notes as well, and fill out the form in their bio. You also just want to follow their Instagram because they post all kinds of like travel tips and tricks, which is really great. They seriously know what they're doing. Like I said, I've been watching them travel for years and years and years, and they seriously like know what they're doing. So click the link in my episode notes to email Emily directly and get started, or follow their Instagram. Actually, I think you should just do both. So start planning your vacation for free today with PS Getaways. Thank you for sponsoring today's episode. All right, friends, it is time for me to give you all of my advice. I keep being like so sarcastic about that, but I really am excited, and I really feel like I've got some good advice, and the questions that were sent in were really good and just kind of juicy. So let's get started. Also, I got a lot of responses. I keep getting a lot of responses when I post about this advice column, and it breaks my heart that I cannot get to all of them because the episodes would be 4 hours long, and no one wants to listen to me talk for 4 hours in one sitting. So I'm having to like kind of pick and choose, and I'm also saving some of the ones from last time for like future episodes. Some of them are like time sensitive, so I can't do that, but I'm trying to get to as many as I can. So if you sent one in and I did not read it, I'm so sorry. I can't get to all of them, but I'm trying really hard to. First one. Hiya, I recently got married. Woohoo! Both of us are Christians and waited until marriage. However, we both believe we have positive views on sex. Love that. It's been about a week and a half now, and we haven't actually had sex. I'm so sorry. We've tried a few times, but it has been excruciatingly painful for me, and we've just struggled to make it work in a way that he can actually get inside. I don't know if it's due to me being so stressed with work and leading up to our wedding, aka the dentist told me my teeth are too worn for someone my age from clenching my jaw. Any advice would be amazing. Oh my gosh. I hate that your teeth are like a little bit worn for someone your age from clenching your jaw. My love. I'm so sorry. Okay. Congratulations on getting married. That is absolutely incredible. And marriage is great and awesome. And I'm so excited for you. Number 2, I love you so much, but I really need you to slow down on attempting sex at the moment, because if you continue to try and have sex and it's continually excruciatingly painful for you, your body is going to begin to get conditioned to the pain, and it's going to think that every time something is inserted, that means pain, and so your muscles will tense up anymore more than they already are, and it's going to keep hurting. And then it could turn into like anytime he like touches your thigh or any like tries to do anything more, your body will just tense up because you're so used to the pain. And then your head starts thinking, oh, it's going to hurt every time, and so your body just responds with a tightness. And we don't want that. We don't want to condition your body to think that sex is going to hurt every time. So at the moment, we need to stop attempting sex. And I want you to make an appointment with your OBGYN immediately. And if you don't have one, I want you to find one. I want you to go see the doctor, and I need her to like check you out, see how everything looks, make sure that there's nothing like in the way, like I've had an episode on here with my friend who had to get a hymenectomy because her hymen was just completely covering her vaginal opening, and so that was causing her to not be able to have any kind of insertion and a lot of pain. And so it's always good to go to the doctor to get checked for any kind of infection or anything that could be causing this pain. So that is step 1. Step 2 is you do need to go to pelvic floor physical therapy, because if you are having this much pain and your dentist is telling you that your teeth are too worn from clenching your jaw, like we really got to work on some relaxation techniques in your body, which your pelvic floor physical therapist can do that. And they can also kind of help with like some nervous system reset. Honestly, as I'm talking about this, I actually think I really recommend, yes, I do want you to go see a pelvic floor physical therapist, but I think it'd actually be really beneficial for you to talk to Jess from Pain Free Intimacy, because something that she talks about all the time and does within her vaginismus coaching is how to reset your nervous system. And just from what you said about how your dentist said that your teeth are too worn from you clenching your jaw so much, it really sounds like your nervous system is just on like haywire, just going crazy. And that was my problem. My nervous system was just going insane. And also I did have negative views on sex, but my nervous system was just wild. And so I had to do acupuncture for a few months before we could actually even start any kind of pelvic floor physical therapy. So I really think talking with Jess to learn how to regulate your nervous system would be extremely, extremely helpful. But keep the hope. Know that you are not alone. Know that just because it's painful right now doesn't mean it's going to be painful forever. I'm so proud of you for writing in and asking about this. Clearly, you are not wanting for this to be painful forever. And so it seems like you're very motivated to experience healing, which is half the battle, honestly. Like just having the motivation to experience healing is truly half of the battle. And so the fact that you sound very motivated is really great. So I want you to take advantage of this motivation that you have right now, that you're wanting to get healed, and I want you to do something about it. Because the longer it goes, not necessarily the harder it gets, but the more your body's going to be conditioned to be tense and sex is going to be painful. And I just don't want it to be painful for you. So I need you, well, need sounds really extreme. I want you to contact either Jess from Pain Free Intimacy on Instagram, but you really do need to go see your doctor first. I know I'm telling you so many things, like you need to do this, you need to do that. I know that can be overwhelming, but know that it doesn't have to be this way forever. I would love for you to get checked by your doctor and then see a pelvic floor physical therapist or talk to Jess. I think those are your really good options. But let's just like take a pause right now and on the intercourse piece of it, like the penis and vagina part, and let's just like really focus on having some incredible, like hot, steamy oral sex, hot, steamy hands. You know, like I think people really underestimate how intimate oral sex is. Let's just take a minute and talk about that. How intimate oral sex is. I don't think it's necessarily more intimate than penis and vagina sex, because that truly is like bringing two people together as one, but it is just extremely intimate to have like someone's face there. That's just a lot. And it's great. And I really think that you can really lean into that and still experience like incredible intimacy with your husband during this time. Like just because it's not penis and vagina, like you can still experience some really, really, really incredible intimate moments with your husband. But I understand how hard this is. I understand how emotionally hard this is. Trust me, I've literally been in your shoes. It was so hard, and you are just not alone. And I want you to know that, and that healing is possible for you. And I would love to hear a follow-up from like how things are going. If you contacted your doctor, if you talked to Jess, like I would love to know. So you can either write here in this advice column or you can send me a DM on Instagram, but I want some follow up. The next question is about premarital sex. So this is going to be fun to talk about. Thoughts on premarital sex. I'm in a long distance relationship, 6 years and counting. Woo, that's fun. And we've had lots of premarital sex because we can't financially afford to get married right now, nor do we have the money to afford me or him to move to one another and live alone until marriage. We want to have a God-honoring marriage, but it's hard nowadays to do that, you know? I'm so back and forth on it. I love him so much, and we have intentions of being married in the future when we can afford it. So I totally understand this. I'll be honest, like I get it. Like you're right. It is so hard to wait and so hard to have a God-honoring marriage. I remember when me and Thomas were dating, like it was like out the wazoo how high my sexual drive was. And I knew that we were going to get married. Like even before we got engaged, I was just like, we're going to get married. Like he's my person. This is just what it is. And so it was so hard to wait. Like literally the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've been honest about this before. Like when we were engaged, we definitely waited for intercourse, but we definitely did some other things because it was very difficult. But I will say, I do believe that God created sex to be relational and for marriage. Just reading scriptures, I can see and understand why he wants us to wait till marriage. Also, having sex, I can understand why he wants us to wait until marriage to have sex. It is an incredibly bonding and intimate and close experience to become one. It is just, I understand why it's reserved. Now, does that make it any easier? No. Were people getting married in the Bible times when they were 15 and 16? Yes. I understand. Like, I get it. And it's hard. It's so hard to wait. But my personal belief, since you asked, is that I do believe that sex was created for marriage. I understand why. I get it. Something I really struggled with when I was dating was like, they don't talk about dating in the Bible, and going from nothing to sex is a lot, and that's a big jump. And I just like didn't understand it. I was like, we can do other things, like that's okay. But now being on the other side of it, like I really do see how bonding of an experience it is to be physical with somebody else, especially with intercourse. Like, you really are two becoming one. And so I do personally like believe that sex is for marriage, and I think that premarital sex is a sin. And I, since you're asking, do encourage like people who are Christians and have decided that this is the path that they're going down to wait until they are married to have sex. I believe that is what scripture asks us to do. And I trust me, and I get it. Like, I get it. It's so hard to wait. It's so hard to wait, especially once you've already had sex. I also understand that it's extremely hard to wait. But since you asked, I will say you're not too far gone to like start over and decide that you guys aren't going to have sex again until you're married. You're never too far gone to like have redemption in your life and ask the Lord to forgive you and make different choices. Like, you're never too far gone. And if that is something that you are feeling convicted by, is the sex that you are having, then I do encourage you to lean into that. I encourage you to lean into that conviction and set yourself up for success when it comes to seeing your long distance boyfriend and choosing to sleep in the same bed or choosing to like be together. I mean, me and Thomas were long distance, and we were very intentional about like when we were long distance where he spent the night, because we knew that if he spent the night at my house or I spent the night in the room that he stayed, because he lived at his parents' house, and so I was like, I definitely am not going to stay in his room. I'm going to stay in their guest room because I just know what could happen, and so we tried to really set ourselves up for success and remove the temptation. Now, there's always a temptation, you know. It's not like anytime you're alone you can't figure out a way to have sex, but I'm not saying to never be alone, because come on, you gotta be with your partner. But I just want to encourage you to set yourself up for success. And if this is something that you are feeling convicted by, like, I really would encourage you to lean into your convictions. But also, hear me when I say all of this. Like, I understand that getting married is a cost, and that's really difficult. And I am not going to tell somebody just to get married so they don't have to have sex anymore. Another question in here, I didn't get to it, but I'll bring it up now. Was somebody asked, like, do you think couples get married so fast when they're Christians so they can have sex, or get married so young so they can have sex, something like that? And I do think that is a reason why people do it and why Christians do it. And I just don't believe that's a good enough reason to get married. I think that we have self-control and we can practice self-control, and I just don't believe that's a good enough reason to get married. So I'm not going to tell you to get married just so you're not having premarital sex anymore. I don't believe that is good advice. But at the end of the day, it's a personal decision. Just because that was my personal decision doesn't mean that has to be your personal decision. But I really would lean into your convictions. Just writing this in a little bit, you did say that you want to have a God honoring marriage, and it sounds a little bit in your message, I'm just inferring here, that you might be feeling convicted by the sex you guys are having. So I'll just lean into that. But also understand, again, I say all of this with like so much grace, so much understanding, how immensely difficult it is. Like, I get it. The next question is about porn. Woo. What a transition. I don't think it's a big deal that my husband watches porn occasionally. He isn't obsessive about it. It doesn't affect me, and I don't really care. But I mentioned it to my friend one day, and she freaked out. I don't know. It kind of bothered me, because why should she care if I don't? From the pod, it sounds like you are very anti-porn. Is it only an issue if you make it one? So again, I believe that God created sex to be relational, not isolating, and to be between husband and wife. And watching porn, you're not just like watching it and turning it off like you're masturbating. That is a form of like isolation and doing something just for yourself and pleasure for your own self. And that makes sex about yourself and not an experience that you're having together. And also, porn in general, outside of just that piece of it, I believe that porn is just a breeding ground for sex trafficking. I think more times than not, it is a system that uses women, that is not kind to women, and really just sets up women to be sex trafficked. Like, there's so much research out there about that, and I just am not a supporter of that in any way, shape, or form. So yes, you are right. I am very anti-porn. It's just not ethical, and I believe it really has taken over so many people's lives. And I just also, I'm glad that your husband, you said he isn't obsessive about it. I am glad he's not obsessive about it, but I think it's a really easy slope to become obsessive about it. And again, I just think takes away from what sex could be between the two of you. You know, it's meant to be, in my opinion, a relational experience between husband and wife, and porn is not that. And even if you guys watch porn together, I don't believe you should be I don't believe you should be watching other people do things like that. Like if there are movies or TV shows that include like naked people having sex, like I personally don't watch that. That's just a boundary I have. I watched Bridgerton recently, and whenever the sex scenes came up, I fast forwarded. I did not watch them. I do not want to see other women's bodies in that way, in a pleasurable way. Because when I was reading these questions, I was like, writing my thoughts down. I was like, well, I don't want to see anybody's body. Like, I don't believe it. I don't need to be seeing other women's boobs. And then I was thinking, well, like breastfeeding, I breastfeed in public, but that's completely different because my boobs aren't just out for consumption to be pleasing for somebody. I'm feeding my child. Or if I'm changing in front of my friend, we're just changing our clothes really quick. Like it's not for a pleasurable experience. And porn is all for pleasure, and that is pleasure for yourself. And I just don't believe we should be looking at other people's bodies in that way. I don't think it's respectful to look at other people's bodies in that way. I think it's a breeding ground for sex trafficking. And while, God did make our bodies, his intention was for us to walk around naked. It is 2024 and we live in a world of sin. And so we are not walking around naked. And so I don't think anybody else needs to see those body parts. We decide our own boundaries in our marriage. And if that is not a boundary for you, then like, that's your decision. That is up to you. I do not think porn is okay. I will never think porn is okay, and I don't really see myself changing my mind on that. I have seen how it has affected my relationship. I have seen how it's affected other people's relationship. I've been in so many different Facebook groups where people are talking about like, I'm feeling a little bit icky about porn, but I don't really know. And I think people are just afraid to say that they don't like it. And because it's become so expected that men do it. It's so expected that women do it. I actually am recording a whole podcast episode about porn and women at the end of June. So I encourage you to listen to that episode. But we do get to all make our own decisions. If you don't feel like you're affected by it, then that's up to you. But I am very anti-porn, and I think it could just be a slope for your husband to get more and more addicted to it, because at some point whatever he's watching is he'll probably become like numb to it or whatever, and then just be looking for more and just be looking for more and just be looking for more. And it's just an isolating event, and I do not believe sex was created to be isolating. Next question. My husband hates that. Oh, guys, this next question really made me laugh. Okay, I'm gonna start over. My husband hates that I'm so dependent on my best friend, but we are best friends. We do everything together, and I feel like she's a better partner and gets me more than him sometimes. What do? I can't leave my friend or my husband. So this really just made me laugh, because like girls understand girls in a way that like men are just never going to understand. Like literally girls just like get each other in different ways. Moms get each other in ways that other moms are not going to understand. Like we just get each other. And this just really made me laugh, because I get it. Like there are things that I would much rather do sometimes with my friends than my husband. And me and Thomas were actually talking about this the other day, and he was like, what's something that you would rather do with one of your friends than with me? And I was like, well, I love the What We Said podcast, and if they're going on tour, like I would love for me and Caroline to go. Like that is something we really enjoy together, and it would be so fun. I like to listen to the Giggly Squad, and they're coming to Durham. Like you've not listened to that podcast once. Like I would love to go with one of my friends, things like that. Just girly things. Like there are things that the girls get and the boys don't, and that's okay. There's so many things that guys do and are interested in that I care nothing about, that I have no desire to care about, and that I'm not going to understand in the way that another guy does. Like we're just wired differently, and that's totally fine. Made differently, that's okay. That's a good thing. So I get it. I get it. However, your marriage does come first, so we have to prioritize that. So why don't you include your husband on some things that you would normally include your best friend on? Don't like make this a 3-way hangout. Like we don't need to do that. But if you and your friend go to Target, well, why don't you and your husband go to Target? Like why don't you try to bring him in on some of the things that he is feeling a little bit jealous of? Let's just bring him in a little bit. And I'm not saying it needs to be a 3 of you thing. And I'm not saying to leave your best friend. Do not do that. But we just need to include your husband in a little more things. So I have a best friend who lives in Augusta, and so the way for us to keep in touch is we text all day long. And Thomas constantly says like, you talk to Nicole more than me, like you care about Nicole more than me. So I relate. I get it. And I'm like, it's not that. It's just like, she's my best friend and we talk. And that just is what it is. Like, I tell Caroline so many things. Sometimes I talk to Caroline about things before I speak to you about them. Like, that just is what it is. And it's not like you're putting your best friend above your husband. It's just like, that's what girlies do. But you do have to prioritize your husband. You do have to put, him first. Your marriage does come first. And so just include him in some things. Let's start bringing him along, and then also be hanging out with your friend separately. But if you want to go to Target and you're trying to go with your friend, let's just go with your husband. And then the next Target trip can be with your best friend. We just got to start bringing him along a little bit more. But don't leave your husband or your best friend. But we got to make a little bit more room for your husband. This next question made me sad. She said, had a false positive pregnancy test recently, even though I have an IUD. My husband and I had been waiting to start our family to get our finances in order and enjoy life together. But now I can't stop thinking about wanting a child. I feel like I lost something I never really had, and I don't know how to get past it. I'm sure that was like so shocking. I'm sure that was such like a shock to your system because number one, you have birth control and you are, you guys are waiting to have a baby, and then you take this pregnancy test and it's positive. Like, I just want you to know your feelings are totally valid. Like, you said that you felt like you lost something that you never really had. It's totally okay to feel that way. Your feelings are so valid because before, or when you very first get pregnant, before you can like feel kicks or anything, there's a lot of weeks in there before your stomach even grows. Like, it just takes time. And so the only connection you have, really to your baby is, I guess, for a while, is seeing that positive pregnancy test before you start feeling like physically things. And so it's okay if you like got connected to that for a second. Like, I totally get it. And just know that your feelings are totally valid. But I would maybe encourage you guys, since you can't get past it and can't stop thinking about it, maybe it's time to revisit the conversation. Maybe it's time to talk about trying for kids now. Maybe it's time. I mean, if you haven't stopped thinking about it, I feel like that could be a sign that like maybe it's time for you guys to revisit this conversation. Maybe it's time for you guys to talk about it again and see if things have changed, and tell your husband, like, this is something that has really opened your eyes, and you didn't maybe realize how much you wanted a child until you saw this test. I know that happens to a lot of people. I know when I was very first starting to try for a baby, I didn't realize how much I wanted it until I saw negative tests. And so maybe this was a way to show you like it is time to start trying for a baby. So I would encourage you guys to just revisit the conversation. But I also would encourage you just to like continue to, have space for yourself to feel these feelings, understand that those feelings are totally valid. And let's just keep like kind of processing that. But also maybe it's time for you to have another conversation about maybe it's time for a baby. So I'm sorry. I know this is like such a shock to your system. I have such a hard time quieting my mind while trying to fall asleep. Any ideas? Relatable. This is such a relatable question. I have struggled with this before. My husband has struggled with this before. Something that has helped me recently is taking magnesium glycinate, and I can link that in the episode notes for you guys. That has really helped me fall asleep and sleep better. The glycinate, I think is how you pronounce it. That part is specifically important because I was taking Calm before, which really did help like calm my mind so I could fall asleep. But it messed my tummy up, let me tell you guys. Actually, let me not tell you. You don't want those details. But it was bad. My stomach was not feeling great. But now that I take magnesium glycinate, it has changed tremendously and I fall asleep so much better. Another tip is do not be on your phone right before bed, because that just like encourages your brain that you're awake, there's things to do, there's more scrolling to be had. If you want to fall asleep in 30 minutes, put your phone away then. Don't wait till minute 25 and say, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed in 5 minutes. No, put your phone away 30 minutes before bed. Even an hour would be great. However long you can, put your phone away so that way your mind can be quieted, whether that's you just laying in bed or talking to your person or just whatever you're doing, like just laying there quietly. Let's get your phone away. Even if you're just getting ready for bed, like not listening to anything, not scrolling, put your phone away, and that helps quiet your mind. I know something that Thomas did to help him fall asleep was he would always just have all these work thoughts in his mind before bed, and something that helped him was just writing it all down and just like taking a big brain dump and writing it down on a note on his phone, like whatever he was thinking about, he just wrote it down, and then that way it was at least on paper and he didn't have to think about it any longer. For some people that might help their mind stay focused on that, but other people I've heard that has helped them get it out of their brain and they can fall asleep. I know this is kind of cheesy, but I have literally counted sheep before. I have laid in bed and looked up and said, And I just picture a little sheep jumping over, what is it jumping over? A log, like in the field. I would picture that and I'd be like, 100, 99, 98, 97. And eventually I'd fall asleep. I know that sounds crazy, like, and silly, but it has worked for me. So maybe it could work for you. My partner and I have not been intimate in over a year. There's a lot that plays into it, but I had a baby in August. How do I reinstate intimacy after this long? Congrats on your new baby. That is so exciting. And as time passes, I know that it feels like a lot of pressure to be intimate again for the first time. I know that feels like a lot and just a lot of pressure. And I just really want to encourage you to talk to your husband about this. I think emotional intimacy is a great way to lead to physical intimacy. And so I just think being super vulnerable with him about how you're feeling about this, like tell him what you miss about being intimate, tell him that your mental struggles around being intimate, tell him that you just don't not even sure how to get back into it. I think if you guys are honest with each other, that sets a really good, like, even playing field for like getting back into intimacy. He knows where you're at, and it doesn't feel like this unspoken tenseness in your home if you're talking about it. And if you are talking about it, I think another practical way of getting back into intimacy is not having to go from 0 to 100. Once you've been having sex, you're like, okay, well, we just have sex. You don't have to do that. You can start by making out. You can start by doing hand things. You can start by doing oral. Like, don't feel like you have to go from 0 to 100. You can very much ease back into it, and it's totally fine. Hope that helps. We'll do one more. Love you and the pod, and so happy you're back to podcasting. Aw, thanks. I love you too. I'm struggling to know if I should quit my job. I recently got my MBA, and all my friends and family are telling me I'm too qualified for my current role. Also, congratulations on your MBA. That's amazing. I'm so bored at work, but I love the people there, and I'm worried about making a switch to a new job where the community is not healthy and I don't feel supported. I don't want to give up a good thing, but I'm definitely not fulfilled in my current position, and the pay is pretty bad. Plus, I'm starting a side hustle bakery, so I don't want to get to a job that requires me to give more than 40 hours a week. Would love your thoughts. So excited that you're starting a new side hustle, having a bakery. That's amazing. It honestly sounds like this bakery could be the thing that fulfills you. If you're looking for fulfillment and you're not finding it in your job, and you're not super comfortable finding another job, it seems like this bakery is the perfect thing to give you that fulfillment that you need. And starting a bakery and starting a side hustle while starting a new job honestly just seems like too much. I feel like you should stay in your current job, because even though you are not getting paid very well and you're kind of bored, the time that you're spent being bored at work, you can be thinking of all the things for your bakery. I don't know how much, like, what your job is and what you're all doing, but maybe you could even be like writing notes down on your phone or taking notes about things you could do for your bakery. Like, spend the time that you're bored at work, because you're probably excelling at your job. People say you're too qualified. So, I mean, in reality, are you really working 40 hours while you might be there for 40 hours? Probably not. So use that time to be planning things for your bakery. And then your bakery is just going to take off, and then you're not even going to have to work this other job because your bakery is just going to explode. Like, I believe that could happen for you. So my thoughts on this is that the bakery is going to become the thing that fulfills you. And if you're trying to find a new job while starting this bakery that it seems like you're passionate about, that is a lot of new things at one time. Now, I don't want you to stay in a job that doesn't pay you well and doesn't pay what you're worth. And so it's always good to be looking for new jobs. And if you are looking, and the right thing comes across that you feel like is something you could do while doing the bakery and is going to pay you enough, then I do think you could get a new job. But I really would tune out maybe. I may be here giving you advice, but I do think maybe you should tune out what your family and friends are saying, because if you feel like you're in a good, healthy environment, that doesn't mean more than pay, because you definitely need to be paid and people need money these days. But I would really just kind of block out the noise and think about your role. Are you enjoying your job? Do you feel like doing this job while doing the bakery is going to fulfill you? Because I don't want you to be miserable all day. So if your answer is no, if you think doing the bakery is not going to give you the fulfillment you're looking for, then I do think it's time to find a new job. And really ask hard questions when you're in your interview process about the culture and what the environment is like. Are people friends outside of work? Do you guys have a family atmosphere, because sometimes the family atmosphere is not good in a work environment. And so ask those questions. Like, ask people what the culture is like. Ask how disagreements are handled. Ask if there's grace given when mistakes are made. I would ask those questions to find out kind of what the environment is like. If you're able to find out if people are friends working there, or if they hang out outside of work, or those kind of things, I think that's great. I think it's important to ask about the history of the company, and if the values are shown, the values of the company are shown through the people who work there. Like, ask those questions. It's very important when you're trying to find a new job. But if you feel like the bakery could fulfill you and be what you're looking for, then you need to stay at the job you're doing now and put your all into this bakery. That is so exciting. Okie dokie. Actually, we'll do one more. I lied. This is the last one because I just feel this so hard. Any advice for new parents after having kids? We are struggling with meeting each other's needs and making each other feel loved because we are preoccupied with our babies. And by the time we get them to bed, we are exhausted from working all day and then taking care of them. We don't want to lose sight of us, but I'm not sure how to avoid it. I get it. It's so hard. Oh my God, it's so hard to put your person first when you have these little babies running around and you have a job. I totally get it. So I just empathize with you 100%. I have found in my own marriage that doing the little things actually matter so much more than what you think. Because I definitely have we've definitely gone through that rut. We've gone through the roommate phase. And while we don't have two jobs that keep us out of the home all day and then have to come home and work, but we are around each other a lot. But what I have found was that doing the little things really meant the most. Like making sure that I am telling him that I love him, that I'm like writing him little notes, like if something that he likes gifts. So just getting him like a chocolate bar when I'm out and thinking about him, letting him know what I'm thinking about him. Here is a tip, you guys. You can set up on your phone a shortcut to text your partner that you love them. So you just go to make a new message shortcut and you can set the shortcut to say, you can type out whatever you wanted to say and set it to your husband. So that way, whenever you click this button on your home screen, it'll just text them whatever you want them to say. So Thomas set that up on his phone because he kept randomly texting me like he loved me. And I was just like, oh, I'm so glad he's thinking about me. And then I think one day I was like, do you just like text me that? And he's like, well, I set this up as a shortcut. And so I've done that now. So I have a little shortcut on my phone that I just like hit that button. Whenever I'm thinking about him, I just like hit it and it tells him I love him. So I think that's a really practical way, doing the little things. The little things just are so important. And also, everyone tells you this. You hear it constantly. And I really think it's because it's actually good advice. Going on a date. You got to go on dates. Like, the more me and Thomas are going on dates, the happier our marriage is. Like, the more we're going on dates, the more we're prioritizing each other, the happier we are. The more that we stay up late and just risk being tired the next day because we have sex that night, the happier we are, and we never miss the sleep. There have been times where I'm like, I'm so tired. I don't want to go, I want to go to bed so bad. I don't want to have sex or don't want to make out or whatever. And then we actually do it and I push through being tired. I am so happy we did it. I'm so grateful that we did it. And I don't miss that sleep, those, however long we took to have sex. Like, I don't miss those minutes. I'm like, thank goodness we did this for our marriage. So I encourage you, push through the exhaustion, and you guys I should know enough. I'm not telling you to do things you don't want to do, and consent is important and all of that. But I think it is important to push through a little bit of the exhaustion and have some physical intimacy with your partner, because it really does help you stay connected and stay in love with each other and be, husband and wife, and not just feeling like roommate, not just feeling like mom or feeling like dad. It really does help you feel like you're in love, and dates really do that. Sex really does that. That is what sets you apart from being just friends with people. So I would encourage you to do that if you can. You got this. Being in a season of life where you've got young kids and you're working is just so hard. I am there. It's extremely difficult. So those are all the questions that we had time for today. I love you guys so much, and thank you for listening to the podcast. If you have a couple seconds and you could just leave me a review and a rating, that would be so helpful. That would be game-changing. And make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out today, and we will talk soon.